Ekam Aksharam Riti Nirantaram Bhasati Swayam Likyate Hridaya Suharamati Kevalam Brahmanatram Sakshat Atmarupena Vishamanasa Swam Chinvata Vajjata Chalanuru Atmaniso Dekam Mrunmayavat Jadatmakam Aham Buddhirnatasyasteto Naham Tattatbhava Samaye Siddharma Sadbhava Bhavayuta Kuto Vadaniya Drishta Manishta Mana Soham Sputitaya Arunachala Shiva Vibhavati Swami Soham Sputitaya Arunachala Shiva Vibhavati Swami. Namo Ramana. In this, the Thursday Satsang from Ramanacentre Center for Learning, it has been our practice to select two verses from the work Guru Vachaka Kovai, which is a collection of verses rendered by Muruganar Swamigal. The verse selection is done randomly by Revatima. Each verse is read and the verse reading is followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that is followed by the practice of about 15 minutes of self-enquiry. After these two segments of verse reading, meditation on meaning, and the practice of Atma-Ucharam are completed, there will be summing up remarks by Venkatesh Deshpande ji, and that will be followed by the offering of Sri Ramana. Today, the offering has been requested of Sri Ujjwal ji, and the rest of us will be inquiring into who is the listener, who is the true listener. And with that, with the completion of the offering of Ashtotram, the satsang will come to a conclusion. We begin the satsang by taking up the first verse selected for us, verse number 572, verse number 572, which is in the segment meditation on the truth. After the prefatory verses, we find the investigation into truth. Then the second segment is meditation on the truth. And the last one is anubhava or experience of the truth. We find 572 in the subhead twofold meditation or twofold karma, which is found in the segment meditation on the truth. Twofold karma, that which manifests in his current worldly life as an abundance of pleasure and pain, that which manifests in his current worldly life as an abundance of pleasure and pain, and also as the friends and powerful enemies who cause them to happen, is only the good and bad karma that a person has performed in the past. That which manifests in his current worldly life as an abundance of pleasure and pain, and also as the friends and the powerful enemies who cause that pleasure and pain to happen. These are only the good and bad karma that a person has performed in the past. There is a note from Conscious Immortality, Bhagavan. When anything happens, we are prone to attribute the same to something or someone else. However, the fact is that our experiences have already been created by ourselves, and nothing happens which is more or less than we deserve. What can others do to us? Others are not responsible for what happens to us. They are only instruments for what would happen to us some way or the other. Let us be strong in the faith and not succumb to fear. Whatever happens, happens according to our prarabdha. Let it exhaust itself. Evil intentions and evil actions will not affect us simply because they desire it. One is required not to think of oneself. So, why should there be an anxiety regarding others? The whole import of this verse is that the pleasure and pain caused by friends and enemies are only the good and bad karma that a person has performed in the past. So the key emphasis is on what you have done in the past is only meriting, and exactly as per the merit, we receive the karma phala by the Ishvara's order. Therefore, the key point in this verse number 572, is that don't blame others or don't blame the circumstances. It is your own actions, your own experiments with the field, your own seeds that you have sown in the field as the kshetrajna, that are resulting in the pleasure and pain, or the good and the bad people whom you have so called, who bring in the pleasure and pain to you. They are all there due to your own past karma. Therefore, you by your own purushartha, who have now been blessed in the prarabdha with Bhagavan's teachings, now by your own effort through surrender and Atma Vicharam, can overcome the karmas that have that are now yielding fruits. Those karmas can be experienced and finished without aggregating new karmas, as well as the act of effacing the sanchita or the accumulated karmas is possible through one's own efforts without blaming anyone or the circumstances. Usually, what happens to the mind? The moment we are in pleasure, no enquiry is done. The self loses itself in that pleasure. There is no self awareness. There is only the limited pleasure which is taken to be real, and one loses oneself in the pleasure. Only when pain comes, the mind doesn't want to face the pain. So it will run hither and thither very fast it will try to find out what has caused this pain. And most often not than not, the nature of the mind is to blame others and blame circumstances, blame the one whom you married 40 years ago for what is happening to you. It is because the Jatakam of my wife was not all right that I am suffering all this. In this verse, Bhagavan is showing that that thing of blaming others and blaming circumstances should be completely brought to a standstill. And one should understand that whatever one is reaping now is purely due to one's own experiments in the kshetra. And now, because of that, and because one has come to this beautiful teaching of Bhagavan, one can now come out of this karmic cycle by practicing surrender and self-enquiry. In fact, Bhagavan takes us to the root of karma by saying that both good and bad, which gives rise to pleasure and pain, as well as good and bad people, they arise to one. The irretai of good and bad, the twofold karma, they arise to one. இரட்டைகள் முப்புடிகள் என்றும் ஒன்று பற்றி இருப்பவாம் அவ்வொன்றேதென்று கருத்தினுள் கண்டால் கழலும் அவை. The whole area of karma can be vanquished by taking the one for whom the dyad of the good and the bad arises. When that one is now taken to the self, 100% without any fail, the whole area of karma is crossed, is Bhagavan's teachings. So first bring the ball into one's own court. The buck stops here, that I am responsible for the pleasure and pain because they are nothing but the results of the past karmas that I have done, the experiments I have done in this field. Now, whatever has been done, now Bhagavan's teachings has come and that teaches us to surrender and do in Atmavicharam. And in Atmavicharam, it takes us to the very source of the twofold karma by saying that the dyad of good and bad arises for one. Enquire for whom does the dyad of good and bad arise? One is completely taken to the source of and beyond the individuality itself. Forget about karma. So the Purushartha, the one's own effort is what is highlighted here. That with the Guru Kripa now, the surrender and Atmavichara have come. Diligently practice, and that is the way to cross the twofold karma, which manifests as pleasure and pain, as well as the friends and enemies. All these names will be completely deleted, and one will be resting in the self by following Bhagavan's teachings of Atmavicharam. And that's what we are going to practice for the next 15 minutes or so. Ujjalji, you can set the time for us. Thank you.